What's up, FPV Rex here, and I've got my 8-inch. I'm working on it today. Today we are just going to solder the. This is from my tank. It's one of the Rotor Riot no solder drones. I bought them because I didn't know how to solder, and I'm just going to clip these connectors off and then solder the wires directly onto these pads. And then later, I'm going to put the motors on and then solder the motors onto the pads. That way, I'm not directly touching a flight controller. And in the future, if something happens, I might not have to, solder the flight controller in the future. Kind of like of a preventative thing. Here we go. All right. Let's get straight to it. First, we need to cut these and trim the wires. I have my motor wires all here. Okay, now I've got to cut them to length. So let me do these one at a time. This is the shortest one. Kind of have to wrap it back around. So I'm probably going to want it this long. Okay. One is done. Next, number 2. Looks a little loose. Oh well, I think it's it's connected fine. This has always worked fine, so maybe I won't mess with it, but looks like it's coming off a little bit, the original solder. That's okay. All right, I'm going to cut this one down to here. And then I'm going to cut this one. Down to here. Now, my biggest worry is this is just a really tight fit. And I have no, hand-eye coordination, and I'm shaky, and I just hope it's going to go well in this tight of a space. Okay, let's see. Maybe I can get all this off. Take all this off. Okay, there we go. I just removed the video system. That should make it easier. I can also remove these, I guess. That should make it easier. And I'm not going to desolder that. Okay, these are cut to length. I need to cut these to length. So what did I do with this one? I did the outer one to the inner one. Okay. That's cut to length. Right here, when I was gluing these on, I got a wet wipe stuck to it, and now all the wet wipe fibers are stuck in there. It's too bad. I'll just color it with a marker. You want to be able to see it. Cut this one to length. Now, I just hope that I didn't cut them too short, because you know how it goes. It looks good when you cut it, but then when you actually try and do it, there's other problems you never thought you didn't expect. So we'll see. I'm new to it. Okay, so these are actually probably a little longer than they need to be. Anyone who's better at this and has done this more than I have could probably do it shorter. I don't know. Anyway, so now the next step, this is 20 gauge motor wire. So I'm going to use my 20 gauge. I don't know if I can even get that in there. Let's see. I'm just going to nip. Let me see if I can get something else. That's hard to get in there. I think it's good. I mean, it should be fine. See if I can get a little shorter. I don't think so. We'll go with that. Let me see if I can get a little more off. There we go. That makes me feel a little more comfortable. I probably should have just took the board off, or done this before I even put the board on. I'll remember that for next time. Lessons learned. That's what we're here to do. We're here to learn. And you know how you learn? The hard way. That's how I learn. There we go. Yeah, that's just so much easier to do it like that. I don't think I'm really stripping out. I'm not really losing any significant amount of wire, maybe like 1 or 2 strands. Okay, I think I'm getting them a little long here. Shorten them up. That's better. Yeah, so one thing I didn't anticipate was all the crowding that's going on in here. That's fine. I got through it. This is too long. Great. Okay, now it's time to tin the pads and tin the wires. I'm going to tin the pads first because that's probably easiest. And that'll get me started, warmed up. Generous flux everywhere. Now, this is new because I'm not used to soldering in a crowded space like this, but that's okay. We'll get it done. All right, that was a horrible first solder. Let's try that again. This time I'm prepared. So I think this tip is a little big. I'm gonna get a smaller tip. Okay, I switched to a new tip closer to the size of the pad. And it looks like my first real life solders are pretty bad. I think I did okay during practice. A little sloppy, but... So let me try with this smaller tip and see how it works. Probably put more flux on there, huh? Flux it up again. That looks like a much better, huh? There we go. That one actually looks good. There we go. Did I flux? I don't remember if I fluxed. If not, we fluxed again. Alright, well, these solders look pretty good to me. The later ones look a little better than the earlier ones, but I'm guessing they're all just fine. So now I'm going to tin the wires. But first, I need to flux the wires. Now that I've got the flux all over my hands, is it okay to get flux on your hands? Jeez. I guess the flux liquid dropper would be better for this. I'll do that one next time. All right. Let's see. How am I going to do this? I don't even know how I'm going to do this. Guess that'll work. Well, it looks like it worked. Great. Well, that looks good enough to work. Let's see if it's easier without the helping hand. It held the wires nice and steady, but it just made a bunch of obstacles. All right. Well, that was much faster and much easier to do it without it. Okay, I learned something today. Well, so now the next step would be to flux again. Oh, yeah, and I gotta flux these. So I just got a puddle of flux on all this stuff. All right, the moment of truth. My first solder connecting to a real circuit board. Let's see. What am I doing again? Which one is it? This one. No, I think this might be one of the harder parts. Well, I don't know. I gotta hold that still. And I gotta hold the soldering iron, and I have to hold the solder. I got this blue tack. For my tiny whoop motors. And it doesn't even work at all, I don't think. So let's see if it works for soldering. All right, it looks fine to me, actually. Looks pretty good. Let's see. Well, that worked. And I tried kind of pushing it off to the side a little bit so that it wouldn't crowd the center one. And then I think the next one I should do... Should I do the center one or the outer one? I'll try and do the center one. Whoa. Okay. Well, look at that. I got a solder. I made a solder. Oh, that might be a little short. Let's see. Can I deal with that? I don't know. It's a little bit of a weird angle, I think, but I don't know how to get it much straighter than that. I guess I have to... We'll see. Well, looks like it worked. It's not touching the other one, even though it's not very even. And then so now, you know what? This blue tack stuff is awesome. Look at that. I can just hold it right down there. There we go. Look at that. Okay, great. They're not touching each other. That's sloppy looking, but I think it's going to work. Look at that, huh? Not too bad. This blue tack stuff is my friend. I love it. Okay. Looks like it's working. Great, wonderful. I am happy. When I first started flying drones, I never thought I would ever build a quad and solder, because I am not, you know, an electronics guy or anything as far as, you know, RC stuff. So I didn't know, you know, it just looked too complicated. But after about, I don't know, a little over 2 years of doing it now, that's cool. So I'm doing stuff I thought that I would never do, which is very neat, and it's a nice feeling to have. Because when you look at that stuff, you know, you see the pros, like when you first start, you're like, whoa, that's awesome. I don't even know how they do that. But now, you know, you just keep going and you get better and better, and you're doing what you never thought you could do in the first place, or would do ever in your life. I didn't know I'd end up doing this stuff. That's for sure. There we go. Oh no. Oh no. The last solder. Okay, so my battery is out. Very last solder, my battery ran out and I encountered a problem. So let's see if we can fix this mess. There we go. Scared at the end there. Almost lost it on the last step. Can you believe that? But we did it. It's not clean. It's pretty sloppy, but I think all those connections are going to be good electrical connections. So the next step will be installing the motors and then doing the same thing with the motor wires and mounting them here. Stay tuned. Good talk.